Hey traders and investors, checking out on the stock market today, seeing some signs of some risk on in the market as we see Bitcoin and the marijuana sector breaking out. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video, and we'll check in on the broader market overall as we approach the end of the week. Stay tuned. ChartGuys.com. Become a confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. Let's check out some charts. So starting first with the S&P 500 4-hour futures chart, we have gotten over our resistance uptrend line, and we have not seen any 4-hour consolidation. That's very surprising for me. I was anticipating some to take place last night. I talked in the video yesterday about how ideal scenario the bulls would see a bull flag into this morning, but just absolutely no slowdown. And what this slow grind up does is obviously it doesn't give bears any chance to cover any short positions, and it keeps that pressure on them. So we're now in a scenario where we've seen a 4-hour high or low every single candle for the last 12, maybe 13 candles. And you will be hard pressed to find a streak that long recently. So we know 4-hour consolidation is coming at some point, but we have cleared short-term resistance. When you get over this 34, 31 level and that 32 level, you can see we're now looking at 34.48. And that's where we topped out today. And if you get over that level, we're looking at 34.85. So we're starting to enter an area with a lack of previous price resistance. We check out SPY clearing 340.306, and you look at the daily time frame, and there's really not much here. We're looking at 347.83. And again, the all-time high discussion is back in the picture because there's limited resistance up to that level. Percentage-wise, it's still a good bit away. We would have to see the bulls go 4.5% for a new all-time high. But if we were going to drop down and confirm a weekly downtrend, we would have to go 7% to the downside. So obviously, we are over that 50% retracement mark, and we are closer towards the all-time high than we are to the low that we were at just 2 weeks ago. It's continuing to be the sector rotation going on where the financial sector is showing us strength. And if I'm a SPY bull, I love that. Because QQQ, who usually has the burden of proof on its shoulders, not the burden of proof, but the burden to carry the market on its shoulders, is trading sideways here and agreeing day today, but not breaking resistance. So the best case scenario for the broader market would be the next time that we see the financial sector consolidate, if we could see QQQ break 282.88 resistance. And again, it's just that tag team action, which keeps the bulls confident in the market overall when we're seeing sectors take turns as to who is keeping the bulls propped up. So again, QQQ, you clear that 282.88 level, and there's a lack of resistance until that all-time high. Today, we double topped at that level. So it's still a very important resistance level for me. These are the most important levels, 273.44. We've been trading within this range essentially for the last 9 days. We're close to a bull break. Volume's very low. If we do not break that level, we are back in the tightening range. So again, best case scenario, if XLF pulls back, seeing QQQ take the lead. IWM keeps this run going. No daily consolidation since our brief higher low. Look at the lack of consolidation here. And again, all this is doing is putting pressure on shorts. Anybody that went short in IWM over the last month is in the red now. And at many points, they were very comfortable. And on this entire move, aside from this tiny little lower open, it's pretty much been a higher low every day. And again, it's just a very fast, hard move that catches bears off guard and forces squeezing of those bears. Again, one thing to be watching would be an uptrend resistance line. Not enough to be bearish, but just something to be paying attention to. And if we were to get to that line without any daily consolidation, certainly would not be surprised to see some consolidation around that level. But a very impressive higher high for IWM, and IWM is now looking back up at 162.91 as the next level, and then we're in gap fill territory. After 162.91, the gap to fill is 166.33. XLV continuing its move, again clearing 107.08. We are looking back at the all-time high. We are currently about 2.5%, a little bit less than that, from that all-time high. And that's impressive. Anything above 103.71 will be a daily high or low. Financial sector, also up at the high. resistance of 25.27, rejected from that level today. And after that, 26.01 is key weekly resistance, and that's the highest price we've seen in multiple months. That's my stop loss for TAN short, not triggering, which is a good sign, so I'm swinging that position. I'll go over that at the end of this video. And one other note, I'm going to put out a video heading into the weekend going over the weekly swing report, and a big part of that, we're going to look at the sector rotation and how we utilize that information for decision making. Because again, right now, we are definitely very much so seeing a sector rotation over the last week plus, and it is very relevant. Biotech sector, all-time high, 121.06. High of today, 119.95. We're right there, and plenty of space for a daily high or low if we reject from that level. So again, we're talking all-time highs for all of these sectors. It doesn't mean we're going to get there. The biotech sector is positioned the best to get there first, but again, it's just highlighting the lack of resistance from where we stand right now. Semiconductors, 184.61 was the all-time high, just under that level. So SMH and XBI, as I said in a recent video, it's a race for who's going to get the all-time high first between them, and that race is still on. So SMH is right there at that level. So TAN, the solar sector, has been running very hard, as we knew. Today was my first attempt to short it, being very patient on this run-up. I talked multiple times how we were watching for a potential sell the news event if we were looking at the election in a coming week or so. It's still a little bit far out. This is looking to me like the sector is a little bit ahead of itself, and the marijuana sector is a bit behind itself recently. Again, I'll talk about that now. I'll just talk about it now. So what I'm watching for now is, are we going to see the election play of the solar sector see profit taking on a volume climax and a gap up open into a pullback? And the other question I have is, are those profits going into the marijuana sector? And I'm not confident in that, because the marijuana sector names, yeah, we have some Canadian MJ names that are traded on the NYSE and the NASDAQ. The US MJ names, there's only a few that are on higher exchanges. The rest are on the OTC. And this move is a much more established sector. So traders, we talk about risk on and risk off. So when I see Bitcoin and the very volatile high-risk sector of the marijuana sector both going up on a day like today, I say the market is gaining confidence and getting some risk on. And this sector is not risk on. This sector is more established. It has a clear path forward. There's no legal hurdles. So I'm not suggesting that a significant amount of this money is going to go over to that sector. But the best decision I ever made as a trader, which I will never be able to replicate in terms of percentage gains again, was going hard into the cryptocurrency space in 2017, selling into strength, and then just rolling all those profits into the run in the Canadian MJ sector in 2017 through 2018, and just compounding those gains. And if I were in the solar move, I missed this move, I was not a part of the bull move. If I were in it, you better believe that's exactly what I would be doing, ideally over the last 3 days, now that we've started to break out in the MJ sector. But again, just compounding those gains on the same type of play. So looking at the MJ names that we looked at just yesterday, I think I highlighted in the video, and that's the other clue, and that's a clue for myself. I haven't talked about the marijuana sector in these market videos in a very long time. Yesterday was the first time. Look at what CGC did today in response to that. Dollar volume, the highest in 4 months. Explosion, 13% move. Short squeeze underway. Again, don't want anybody just jumping into this sector and jumping into very overextended positions. This is the kind of trade that we've been stalking. I've been stalking and scaling into USMJ swing positions for over a month at this point. I was not confident that the Canadian MJ space would rally into the election. I was very confident that the USMJ space would, because again, I've been watching it for a decade, and there has never been an election where the USMJ sector does not run. It's pretty much free money. And I will admit that last week I was starting to second guess myself. Fortunately, I didn't act on anything because it was sticking to the game plan, but I was starting to say, is this really going to be the first time in 10 years that we are not going to see a run into the election? And the answer looks like that won't be the case, fortunately. GTBIF, one of my swings, trying to head back to the recent high. Very healthy weekly consolidation, and just need to turn on those jets and break 1629 and 1668 to be in an area with a lack of resistance. And the other one was TCNNF. And again, same thing, but a lot further to go. But a nice reaction to the daily trend change, nice bull volume. And we're seeing hype and momentum enter the space in response to Kamala Harris and the presidential debate. Nothing that was said was any new information. That was just the spark, because now Fidelity's putting out the headline and CNBC is putting out the headline, and now it's getting the media attention. And that's why I talk about the media attention being so important. But again, I'm not going to take up too much time. I'm about to do a marijuana sector video on its own. And if you are more interested in the sector, I've been putting out the marijuana sector videos for a while and talking about the election for a while. So check those out. The VIX is still in our 2-day tightening pattern. Nothing is changing. Doesn't matter to me at all until we break 2480 or 3120, although now our lower high is clearly set at 20, make that 30. So 30 is our new clear resistance, and just patiently waiting for a spike when this pattern breaks sometime, likely next week. The dollar, still fairly weak overall. 4-hour trend change was needed for those bulls, and we are not changing that 4-hour trend. Low, high, higher low, lower high. Bears would love a break of 93.50 to continue making it difficult to change this 4-hour trend. If the bulls can hold 93.50 and break 93.78, a bit of a shift in momentum will be underway for the bulls, and we'll have to be paying attention for that over the next couple of days. So gold still trying its bounce. 4-hour time frame did end up changing the trend with a higher low and higher high, but not a lot of follow through. So again, the most important levels here are 1848 and 1921. And we have to break that level to confirm a daily trend change, and the dollar would need to stay weak for that to take place, in my opinion. Silver, sideways range still on the daily time frame for the last 7 days, patiently waiting for clarity there as well. Miners, they were weak on the daily inside bar yesterday, a little bit more followed through today. Again, we would need a break of $40 for a notable momentum shift on the daily time frame for these bull miners. Oil, so I'm close to being wrong on oil. I've said multiple times how I anticipate that we are to stay within this range, likely for at least a week, if not multiple weeks. And we're close to breaking this level, which again would be another point in favor of the market bulls, because that would be a weekly double bottom and then a break of the weekly lower high, which means our monthly higher low is potentially being set, which would be a monthly bull flag on this bounce, and extremely healthy overall. So it's all about 41.72, which is approaching. The 4-hour RSI will be at historical pullback levels. As far as the last few times we've just gotten over 70, in the last few months, we don't stay over 70. So we're heading into a key resistance level with that RSI at 70. So there is a potential top fish with that resistance still there. But again, just the fact that over the last 4 days, the bulls have managed to bounce back to that resistance, definitely notable for the strength on that bounce. Natural gas, still watching this triple top up at 223.9, but the bulls certainly still staying within striking distance. New 4-hour higher low is 210.9. Need to break 224 for convincing follow through. So overall, the market bulls are holding strong. What's been notable the last 2 days is QQQ has been green. Granted, it hasn't done a whole lot, but 2 green days in a row, yet our bigger names like Amazon, Netflix, Apple, not really being the reason for it. Apple was red today. All those names that I just said, they were red today. So the smaller holdings in QQQ are doing a good job of helping these bulls out. And XLY, there is consumer discretionary in QQQ. It's pretty much tech and consumer discretionary. And looking at this close, we can say consumer discretionary is why QQQ is green, while the major components of Apple and Amazon are red. Some of the major components. I think that's it. Oh, I got to talk about what? A trade? Let's see, my tan short. So tan short, why did I go short? Gap up open, overextended. You could say that for any other day, but this was just enough's enough. And just making an attempt and perfectly accepting a small loss if I'm wrong. So I sat down at the computer. I had no plans of shorting tan. I looked and saw a 3% gap up open. I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I saw the high. I saw the low of the day at 76.53. And as soon as 76.53 broke and we hit a new low of the day, that tells me profit taking on the gap up. And I entered short at 76.50. And I entered a day trade position, which is more sizable for me. And my stop was over the high of the day at that point, and I was risking a day loser if I would have stopped out, which is a pretty solid risk for one trade for me. And I then exited half on first 5-minute oversold conditions. If I wasn't in a long position, I would have played that bounce. We know our back burner trades, our first 5-minute oversold conditions coming off a very significant bull move. So 5-minute RSI just kissed oversold. I sold half of my position at 75.50. We bounced around for a little bit, then finally got some bounce follow through. As soon as I sold half of my position, I am now at a swing trade size position that I'm comfortable with, and my break even is 77.50, the high of the day. So in this position that I'm swing trading now, I pretty much have no risk. If I stop out, my stop is going to remain from here on out until I decide I want to take profit, or I get stopped out just above 77.50, and I am risking pretty much nothing. It's pretty much a break-even trade. So that gives me a lot more confidence letting this play out. I will take profit on first hourly oversold conditions because, again, that's a back burner trade coming off of a move of this size. So that's my short-term target for my exit if we do get bear follow through. And I like the fact that today was a red day, just barely, but a selling day in the sector because the markets remain strong. And I know any weakness in the markets from here is only going to help further pullback and further consolidation. Tons of space for a daily high or low. I'm not going to be greedy and hold this play for a long-term short. I'm just looking for first hourly oversold conditions, and I will lock it in, and I'll probably flip bullish and flip that bounce. Depends on how we get there and what things look like and the broader market and all that. But that is the setup. That's about it. Have a good rest of your day. Do good things. And we will check back in Monday. See you then.